All right, let's consider a scenario. You're going to the doctor. You've been drinking a lot of coffee recently, say for like the last 12 weeks that you've been in the UK doing a summer fellowship program. Right, like this is just a hypothetical. But you're worried that all this coffee you've been drinking is going to lead to some bad health consequences. So you ask your doctor about it. Have you ever stopped to think how your doctor actually knows the answers to questions like this? Yes, your doctor went to school for a long time, and yes, they learned a lot while they were there. But it's not as if research stops when your doctor leaves school. In fact, thousands of papers are being published every day. How does your doctor stay up to date with all of the research they need to answer your questions? That's where our partner Cochrane comes into play. Cochrane is a nonprofit organization powered by some 37,000 volunteers located all over the world. Together, Cochrane and its volunteers write systematic reviews of medical research. Think of them like this magnet. They look through all of medical research, they extract the pieces of information that are needed to answer one particular question, and then they synthesize this information and push it out into digestible guidance that doctors and other healthcare professionals can use to inform their practices. Systematic reviews are a key tool that these people use to stay up to date. But putting together these systematic reviews can take a long time. Within Cochrane, it can take up to 3 years to actually publish one. So why is this? Well, these systematic reviews are on very particular medical questions. Cochrane maintains over 7,500 different reviews, and each of them are on a different question. When you're looking for papers that are relevant for one of these reviews, it's really like trying to find a needle in a haystack. However, Cochrane has a commitment to be very systematic about the search process it uses to find papers for these reviews. The cost of missing a paper with a piece of information about the treatment that's right for you is much higher than the cost of a volunteer spending a few extra hours sifting through more papers. So we worked with Cochrane this summer to think about how we can speed this process up so that doctors get new information sooner. But before we do this, we have to think a little bit about how review authors go about updating these reviews. Typically, review authors will conduct a manual, laborious process of executing a number of different searches across a number of different platforms, and then we'll look through the results and find the papers that are going to be relevant for their review. However, these reviews also fall under one of Cochrane's 54 review groups, and each of these review groups oversees one broad medical topic area. Instead, if we knew which review group all of these medical papers fell in, then review authors could look at just one source to find the papers that are relevant for them. But when new papers are published, we don't have this information available. So our work this summer was on classifying these medical research papers into review groups so that it's easier for review authors to find the papers they need to update their reviews so that we can get information into the hands of doctors sooner. So how do we actually go about doing this? Well, these medical research papers have a lot of information, and we think that there are a couple of areas in particular that we can use to help us with this task. For one, the titles and abstract of these papers have a lot of keywords and phrases that we can use to help distinguish between papers. We can also look at paper citations. If one paper cites another paper that already belongs to one of these review groups, then there's a good chance that that paper will also belong to that review group. Using features like these about papers, we can predict when Cochrane gets a new set of papers which review group they'll belong to. Now, for the folks that oversee these Cochrane review groups, rather than having to look through all of the papers, we can help them prioritize their workload a little bit. For the average review group, we can say that 1% of papers are definitely going to belong to that review group, so they don't have to spend time looking at those papers. We can also say that 77% of papers are not going to belong to that review group, so they don't have to spend their time looking at those papers either. Instead, we can focus their efforts on the 22% of papers that we're not quite sure about. This way, we make the best use of their expertise and time and allow them to keep their review group up to date faster. And by keeping review groups up to date, we make it easy for review authors to find the papers that they need to update their reviews. This enables review authors to write their reviews faster and to get this information into the hands of doctors in a more timely manner so that doctors can answer questions like, what is all that caffeine doing to you? Thanks, everyone. I'm Anthony. This summer, I had the great pleasure of working with Kim, Nishant, Pablo, and Andrea, and we really hope you'll come find us afterward and talk to us more about the work that we did with Cochrane this summer.